Best Speaker. Can I begin, as others have done, first of all with my own admiration for the role that the Ukrainian armed forces have played, sometimes irregular, sometimes regular. I think most of us have been astonished by the resistance that they've been able to put up, and I think that astonishment applies in Moscow as well. But with that, I must couple as well my own genuine appreciation of the role of the Defence Secretary and the Defence team, who have been exemplary in the way in which they have operated to make sure that we are supporting the capacity of the Ukrainians to defend their own country. That has been absolutely fundamental and is a leading example of how we as a nation really ought to behave. So well done there. I do want to say, though, very briefly, I wish I could be quite as complimentary in terms of the role of our sanctions regime, because we are playing catch-up. You know, it is a matter of fact that the EU has sanctioned far more individuals than we have, including two with major UK interests, Alisher Usmanov and Mikhail Friedman. We've not sanctioned those two individuals, and it's astonishing that we see the EU sanctioning those with assets here, and we don't. But this also does bring me on to something else that we do now have to look at very seriously, is the way in which our legal system has been acting in a way to defend the interests of those in and around Putin, the oligarchs who base their monies here. The ability, for example, to prevent journalists examining the truth, because actually inquisitive journalism is so fundamental in outing what we must do, the role of this dirty money in this city of London. And this is a matter of national shame. So we are playing catch-up there, and I hope, Madam Deputy Speaker, that message can be taken on board by ministers. It's time now to do it. I think there is a consensus that we can do it, but it isn't just the dirty money, it's also those who protect that dirty money in our society, and I think there is consensus on that. I also am bound to reflect on the potential, even now, of the flow of refugees. We don't know how this situation is going to end. We don't know what will make Mr. Putin and those around him pull back from this level of adventurism. And because we don't know that, we've got to assume things will get massively worse. The flow of refugees will get worse. And if the flow of refugees does get worse, and if we are talking about the potential for many more millions of refugees, then clearly the UK has to be prepared to respond. Of course, I'll give way.
Thank you, Honourable Gentleman, for giving way. And following on actually a point made by the member from North Thanet of places unable to cope with the numbers of people coming through, we need people to keep on flowing. One of the difficulties is this dogleg the UK's got to having to go for visas. I'm currently in real time waiting for the Home Office to tell me where a bunch of 12 people can go to get visas. The travel to Scotland, everything's arranged, but the difficulty, the bottleneck, is the Home Office. We shouldn't be doing this right now. People can get moving and get going, but we don't know. So they get a bus to Warsaw. Where should they go? Where are they going to get the visa? Hopefully in the next few hours we'll know. But the frustration and the angst of the family back in Lewis is huge. Just want to put that on the record. Thank you.
Well, I'm grateful to Andrew Friend for this, because, of course, he is right. You know, if we can see the same alacrity from the Home Office as we've seen from the MOD, then we can make a material difference. Now, I do have to say as well, you know, I spoke earlier on this week with the ambassador from Moldova. Moldova is a country of something short of 3 million people. They've already taken in 90,000 refugees, equivalent to the UK taking in 2 million people in proportion terms. But this is a desperately poor country. Moldova cannot accommodate that 90,000. So there has to be some process by which the flow of refugees can be moved from the reception countries to those who have greater capacity. And in any case, we also need to make sure that we're making the humanitarian assistance available to Moldova, etc. But the bureaucratic point about the Home Office is inevitably a real one. It's time for Home Office ministers to act and make sure that they are part of the solution and not part of the problem. Right. Madam Deputy Speaker, there's only one other point I want to make, which is probably something that's a little more wide-ranging. We do have to look forward, and we've got to look forward in two ways. One, we do need to make sure we have a commitment that our role with respect to Ukraine isn't just during this period of crisis. We're always excellent in this world at focusing on crisis, and we move on, whether it be Syria, Libya, we can all count them back. We've got to be there here in the long run, because actually Ukraine is too strategically important, both, if you like, in military terms, but specifically in terms of the ecosystem of the wider Europe. Now, on that basis, it does mean we need to look at the capacity. The time is not now, but for what we would do by way of reconstruction, and that's got to be somewhere on the planning agenda for within the G7, within the broad framework. The other point is actually something that is going to be massively controversial. When the European Coal and Steel Community was created back in the 1950s, the reason and the logic behind it was because those were the key strategic industries of that era. Post-war reconstruction worked together to create something that was a little bit different. And now, actually, energy is today's strategic variable. Olaf Scholz, the German Chancellor, has made an incredible move by saying he will wean Germany off Russian oil and gas. Actually, we have to begin to think how we can play a role to make sure those dependent on that gas are supported. That would be Moldova, it would be Ukraine, it may well be Germany as well. It takes imaginative thinking, but it's the kind of thing that we saw when Ernest Bevin created NATO, when we saw the creation of the European Coal and Steel Community all those years ago. Controversial, but now is the time to do it.
Yeah.